This is a video of the marble slides. This first slide is just showing you that when you hit this launch button, what you want to do is collect all the stars and then get that success message. Slide 2, you want to move this sine curve down. So it goes through the stars here. So right now it looks like the center line is at 3, and you want the center line to be here. Looks like -2. So this represents the center line, this +3. I want to make it -2. And then hit the launch button. And that collects the stars. So some people have made this -3. And that would still work. But to go exactly through the stars, if I make that a -2, then connects together all the stars with a graph. Slide 3 is just showing you that if you want to reset, you hit the gear button and then the reset button, and resets everything to the original. This one here, let me hit the reset button because this is what it looked like originally. And then I looked from here, 15 to 45. That's a period of 30. So in order to get the period to be 30, you do 360 divided by 30, which would be 12. If I make this a 12, then it goes through all the stars. And then some people had some problems with, like I did when I did this at home on my desktop, it didn't, the marbles they didn't get over this first hump here, but it works on this computer. Slide 4, let me reset it to the original. So it says change 2 numbers below. So we go through the stars here. So you can see the sine curve down here. You can barely see it. But it looks like I want the center line to be at 4. So make this a +4. All right, and then I need to extend this. So could try 0, but when I launch it, some of the marbles hit and bounce off. So to make it less than 0, anything less than 0 would work here. In other words, if you made this a 2, it would work. Anything less than 0 in here, any negative number would work. All right, so if we change this 2 to a 5, what's going to happen? So like I did in class, this is the general form of a sine curve. So A, the number A is actually the amplitude. B has to deal with a period. C is my phase shift. D is my center line. So just going through the one at a time. A is the amplitude. That's the distance from the center line to the maximum, or the distance from the center line to the minimum. Or you could use this little formula here, max minus min divided by 2. So the maximum here is 3, the minimum -1. 3 minus a -1 is 4, divided by 2 is 2. So that's represented right here. The amplitude is 2, or if I go from the center line, which is 1 to 3 is 2 units, or 1 to -1, that's also 2 units. So this represents the amplitude from the center line to the maximum, or the center line to the minimum. And then my B value is represented by, and this is in degree mode here, so 360 divided by the period. And how do we get the period? The period is from max to max, or from min to min. So Let me write that underneath here. So what the period is from max to max, min to min, or center line to center line. It's where the graph starts to repeat itself. So here, if we go from max to max, from 1 to 5 is 4. From min to min, 3 to 7, that's 4. Or from this center line, we're going to skip this point and go here. So one cycle from center line to center line would be 0 to 4, which is also 4. See, we're not going to talk too much about this in this class, but when you get the pre-calc, you will see this. C value is the phase shift that moves the graph left or right. The phase shift number is the starting point. In this case, it's 0. We're starting right here, so I don't have any phase shift. D is my center line. In this case, it's 1, so the center line is 1. And notice this 90 here, so it's 360 divided by 4 gives me a 90. So what happens if I change this 2 to a 5? Changing 2 to a 5 changes the amplitude from 2 to 5. So if I was to describe the transformation as a vertical stretch or dilation with respect to the x-axis. Let's go in the next slide. I want you to go ahead and do that. So let's reset this. This is a 2. I want to make it a 5. So the center line remains the same. The period remains the same. The only thing that's changing is the height of the max and the min there. The max and min is changing, or the amplitude is changing. So this is stretched vertically, or dilation with respect to the x-axis there. The amplitude is changing from the center line to here is 2, or from the center line to here is 5. So 1 to 6 is 5. So what happens if we change the 1 to a negative 1? So in the original, the amplitude is 2 and the period's 4, and the center line is 1. So if we make this a negative 1, the center line becomes negative 1. The graph would move down. Everything would move down 2 units. So let's reset this. It's a positive 1. We want to make this subtract 1. So that moves the whole. Here's the original graph, the dash 1. The solid 1 is the new graph. It just moves down 2 units. Or the center line changes from positive 1 to negative 1. All right, so in this equation, if I look at it, B is 90, so my period is 4. And if I change B to 45, then my period is going to be 8. So if I change this number to a 45, it changes the period from 4 to 8 because of dilation with respect to the y-axis, or you could call that a horizontal stretch there. So slide 11, let's go ahead and reset this. This is 90. You want to change it to a 45. It's going to change the period from 4 to 8. So if I go from this maximum, which is -6, to +2, the period becomes 8. Or from the center line at 0 to 8 is 8 units. Or from minimum -2 to +6, that's also 8 units. So it's a horizontal stretch there, or dilation with respect to the y-axis. So let's go ahead and take this out here. All right, so they want you to write the equation for this graph. So the three things you need to find are the amplitude. The amplitude's 4. This is a sine curve going from center line to center line. So the amplitude is 4 sine. And then this period goes from 0 to 36. So 360 divided by 36 is 10. I'm going to put an X. And then our center line is +6. So in the exit card, you're going to have to do the same thing. You're going to have to find the amplitude, your B value, which is 360 divided by the period, and then your center line. So if I hit check my work, then it should connect the dots together there. And this one, start over here. Amplitude, once again, we're going from 1 to 5, which is 4, or 8 minus a -3 is, 5 minus a -3 is 8, divided by 2 is 4. So once again, we got 4 sine, and then my period is 8. So from this center point to this one, 0 to 8 is 8. So 360 divided by 8 is 45. And then my center line is 1. And then when I check, I notice that I hit all the center line points, but this is a minimum and this is a maximum. So I need to reflect this point over the x-axis. So I have to put a negative in front of here. And now the points are connected. So for your exit ticket, once again, you want to find the amplitude. Your period, your B value would be, this period is 4. So 360 divided by 4, the B value is 90 there. The amplitude is 2, and the center line -3. You want to write the equation for that. And then for this exit ticket 2, your amplitude, you're going from 1 to 5, which is 4. And then, so that's your amplitude 4. Your B value would be 360 divided by 60 is 6. And this is a negative sine curve. So make sure you put a negative. So once again, the amplitude 4, your B value is 6, your center line is 1. You want to write the equation for that here. So sketch the graph of the following equation. So what you want to do there is I would start with my center line is at -2. So I'm going to draw a dashed line there. And then my amplitude is 5. So I'm going to go up 5 from -2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would be +3. And it doesn't look like this gave me enough space. Let me move this here. And then down 5 from -2 is -7. 4, 5, 6, 7. I kind of ran out of room there. I don't know. Let me see. And then my period would be 360 divided by 30, which would be 12. So I'm going to start on the center line here. And once again, this scale is kind of off. I would end on the center line 12, and then on 6 would be on the center line. And then at 3, we have a maximum. And then over here, you'd have a minimum. And at -6, it would be on the center line again. So a little bit of a mistake here that this didn't make this scale large enough on the Y too. So if I draw a sketch sine curve through there, looks like that. And then this one, this is a little bit of difference here. Let's make this cosine. Then that works. Or if I reset this, the cosine curve is just the sine curve offset by 90 degrees. And since this is in radians, 90 degrees would be pi over 2. So I want to go to the left, pi over 2. And I don't know why that's not working. So let me increase this a little bit. If I do pi. Oh. So let's try 120. So that'll be 2 pi over 3. Oh, there we go. That works. So either do a phase shift for the sine curve, or let me reset this. Just make this cosine. And that also works. Or phase shift. Oh, there should be a plus. I mean 2 pi over 6. Yeah. That's what I put in there before. Pi over 3. So phase shift of Uh, 120 degrees, or 2 pi over 3 radians.